anytime I think we have the space and the privilege to sit down for a second and have these thoughts, I think so many women in our community do not have the privilege that you and I have to be able to sit with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves because
Right.
they have life to live and they have people to take care of, um and I think that that's why I wanted to create spaces like Poderoza, because at least for one day you get to sit and just be loved on, and listen to somebody else maybe talk about some things that resonate with you. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't take it for granted as we're talking here, because I know that there's so many of us that do not have the not only the capacity, but we're just not financially able to just say, I need
Yeah.
to sit down and take a minute,
To take a
because
day off. Yep.
yeah, because that means that you're making a choice between yourself, taking a little break, or keeping the lights on in your house. And I'm very sensitive to
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So let me ask you this because we talk. Let's continue it just a tad bit more on the rest as resistance.
Yeah.
It's pretty revolutionary in this modern world today, right? Because, like you said, capitalism is capital in America. But Audre Lorde, she's I think an early contributor to this notion of rest as resistance,
One of my
and it's the
sheroes.
philosophy is say it again.
Sorry, I said one of my sheroes.
One of your heroes, yes, okay. Because her work is great around there, and I just wondered though, how do you take that philosophy and the idea and concept that she's empowered us with? How do you bring it into practice? Like, how does it show up for you as a mother, scholar, activist? What are some doses of rest practices that you might share with our audience?
Sure. Um, let me shout out Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, where I went to graduate school first. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important because my identity as a Black African Cabo Verdean woman came from my time as a master's and PhD student at Clark Atlanta University. It's a HBCU, a historically Black college and university. Without
Mm-hmm.
that space and my time in that space, there's no way that I would be the badass Black woman I am today. And even be
Mm-hmm.
very, very clear and unapologetically clear
Mm-hmm.
about my identity as a Black Cape Verdean woman. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
have to say I'm a Black Cape Verdean woman because it means a lot. I
Mhm.
unapologetically live that life. And one of the reasons why I'm saying that is because want to I want people to understand that historically I stand on the shoulders of not only Creoles but also Black women who have taught me, Black African American women, so Black American women
Mhm.
who have taught me what it is to live a life of audacity as well as an adult.
Mhm.
And being at CAU is where I learned about Audre Lorde. And because in undergrad at Providence College, they weren't, we might read bell hooks and Alice Walker, but we certainly wasn't
Mm.
going to read too much Audre Lorde because her thought was very radical. It
Radical.
Radical. It centered Black women in a way that had never been centered um, before for me, right?
Yep.
It centered me in my story in a way that I hadn't been centered before, unapologetically. Like, and the fact that all I wanted to do was study and talk about and write about Black women. And there
Yep.
was hesitation in that. Is this okay? Like, I'm a Black girl. Should I just always be writing about? I'm like, I know plenty of white folks. All they do is write about white folks. So why can't I
Yep.
just focus on my community? And so the audacity to do exactly what I wanted to do as a scholar came from that.
Yep.
Um, and it came from the need, as Audre Lorde talked about in one of her speeches, the master's tools will never, you can't use the master's tool to dismantle the master's house and to
Mm-hmm.
reshape the society in which, and so there's no way that I was going to use the philosophies and the teachings of white folk to dismantle white supremacy. And so I'm very
Right.
intentional about using Black authors, particularly like
Mm-hmm.
if you look in the, what do you call that thing? Gosh, and I swear I'm a scholar. I know what I'm talking about. If you look at the index and the scholars that I use for both the Poderoza book and my latest book on Cape Verdeans in the United States,
Oh, your citations.
my citations, thank you. Jeez. That's what I meant. My citations, I intentionally cite only Cape Verdean authors and Black
Yeah.
authors. I think it's important for us to center ourselves in our work. So I'm very intentional about that. And I know your question was about rest and how do I center that in my practice and in my work and what I do, right?
Yeah, yeah, because the philosopher, you just grounded us in that philosophy. So then how does that show up in practice? Exactly.
Um, the spaces that I curate for women, particularly for Black
Mm,
women and Cape Verdean women, even on campus, for example, um, they are centered on that. For example, one of the events that I've had on campus in recent times is centering ourselves in our work unapologetically. So it was a raw, honest conversation led by another amazing political scientist, Dr. Julia Jordan Zachary, who's the chair of
mm,
Women and Gender Studies at Wake Forest, who's a friend. I invited her to come and lead the conversation because she's published books on top of books on top of books on Black women. And she came and led that conversation. And it was just Black and brown women in the room at my university. And it was a raw
mhm.
conversations, particularly with the undergraduates, about feeling just fine with centering Black women in your work. And I did that because there had been conversations about, I had heard, through the grapevine and stuff, when you overhear conversations, some Black
Mhm.
female students that were saying that some professors were not
Mm,
letting
questioning.
them like write their thesis on what they wanted to write about. So I said, let's have that
Mm,
conversation just between us and let's affirm ourselves and give ourselves the permission to. So I brought one of the baddest political scientists in the country to help us get that permission. You know,
yeah.
the biggest one that I would say, how does rest show up is at Poderoza. Rest doesn't mean sit and
Yeah.
do nothing. Rest means dancing. So we always have the baddest Cape Verdean, Criolla DJ in the room. We've had DJ Shy, we've had DJ Valentina, we've had DJ Migacha. So rest can mean you're resting your mind from the anxieties and the depressions
Yeah.
of the world. And so we gonna dance this thing. So, we're
Yeah.
eating, we're dancing, but we're also resting our minds. Somebody did, there was yoga practice one time. And so that's where my work is centered,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like I said, rest doesn't mean just sit somewhere. It just means that you're taking a break from the everyday things that just occupy your mind in a way that is too much sometimes.
Yeah.
So rest means again dancing, going out to lunch with friends. Um,
Mhm.
oh, also, in post-pandemic times, this time last year, I invited another amazing Criolla, Vanessa Flowers, um,
Mm.
who is based out of Chicago. I invited her to do a program. She has her own. She's an entrepreneur. She curates spaces for women of all,
Mhm.
Black, brown, all women to just be. And so I invited her to do one of her programs at my university at Johnson C. Smith. I opened it up to the community. I invited, and the conversation was about making connections in a post-pandemic world because we know the pandemic messed things up for us. The
Right,
pandemic
right.
messed up physical connections that we had with each other. When we think about young people, especially young women, um, the ability to like have a conversation and communicate in person sort of,
Yeah,
it was like went downhill, and we needed to sort of help that conversation along. How do we get back to personal connections? And
right.
the program was amazing. I had, we had giveaways, we had books, we had Restless Resistance in there to give
Mhm.
away. We had journals. We invited two therapists to come lead the conversation, to give us
Mhm.
strategies to walk away with. And so I think that people are like, well, what are you doing this? You're a political scientist. What is this about? I'm like, hello, this type of work is political as all get out.
Okay.
Doing the work of creating spaces to help Black women, Black and brown women, um, affirm ourselves and create spaces of rest, and tell young Black women that it's okay for you to be writing about yourselves and your community of
Mhm.
women and the things that matter, like Black maternal health, mental health for young Black girls, the sexualization of Black girls. Like, so all of
Mhm.
those topics, like all of those are extremely political, and telling young Black women that it's okay to write about this stuff when you're writing your undergraduate thesis, your master's thesis, your whatever thesis, that's political as all get out. And that's what I'm committed to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm committed to. And I think that is what's going to be the game changer. Because when you do stuff that you're passionate about, that feeds and nurtures your soul, you will need less rest because you're doing
That's
the
right.
transformative work that's going to impact your community.
That's beautiful. That's a
There's
great reminder why rest is so critical.
correct, and I think that um there's so many of us Black women who've been sold the idea that, just climbing the corporate ladder, or just listen, if you want to be the next best thing and be the CEO, vice president, president, I love it. I love it. I love
Mhm.
seeing women in these, like I think about Bozoma St. John, she's Ghanaian, but she's like the marketing guru of like Uber and Netflix, and she's in the marketing hall of fame, like the US marketing hall of fame.
Mhm.
And now she's in the she's one of the housewives in Orange County, and one of the housewives. Um, but she's
Wow.
badass, like crazy. Um, but also there's a lot that she had to sacrifice to be at
Yeah.
that level, like at that
And
level.
deal with.
Oh my word, like
Yeah.
the racism, the you don't belong in this room. And she's a very chocolate Black Ghanaian woman, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so the things that probably she had to deal with,
Have
oof.
to deal with.
Um, but what I'm saying is, if you don't want to do that, and if you're only pursuing those dreams because society has told you to, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're like,
No,
you're
not
going
at all.
against the grain. And I knew from the beginning that that was not for me. Like I knew
Yeah.
it wasn't for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay true to myself. As a matter of fact, right after undergrad, I took a job at an immigration law firm in New York. Okay.
Mm.
I took a job at a business immigration law firm, the biggest one in the United States. We had offices in Japan, all over the world. You should have seen our uh, organization meetings. People were, virtually coming in from all over the world. And then I get there and I'm like, this ain't the life for me. I was leaving my Connecticut apartment at like, because I couldn't afford life in New York. So
No.
I was living in Stamford, Connecticut. I was
Wow.
getting on the train at like the crack of dawn to be on time. and getting home at
Mhm.
like 8 o'clock at night and then just eating and going to bed to get up and do this. That would,
Doing it all over.
uh, that ain't me. Like, what is
Wild.
that
So
about? So, yeah, I lasted
this
what,
is the
5 months over.
American way to the American dream.
Child, I was like, if this is the kind of dream we're working with, I don't want it.
I don't I
I
don't
don't
want
want
this
it.
dream.
I don't want it, girl. Cause a girl,
Dream a new dream, girl.
I need my sleep. I'm the kind of I need my sleep. I don't do that.
Yes.
So I lasted 5 months over there. I deferred my admissions to Clark Atlanta and I started in January 2001 because I was like, this ain't for me. I'm going to grad school.
Yeah.
I'm going to grad school and but I'll be honest, I'll give you a little thing there. It's only because I
Mhm.
was chasing a boy. So I took that job because I was chasing a boy that I broke up with 2 weeks after I got to New York.
You see that? You
So,
see that, ladies? No.
don't chase nobody. Don't
Don't
go
chase
out.
nobody.
That was somebody else's dream. You see what I'm saying? When you don't go after your
Yes.
dream, stuff
Your
just
own
falls
dream.
apart. And so Terza was chasing a boy. She moved to
Lit- eh,
I moved over there and we broke up 2 weeks later and I was stuck in a job that I hated.
And you know, when you'll take all the lessons that come from that, I think like when you say talk about that dream though, what I love in your story is that you talked about certain feelings and paying attention to particular feelings that you had or understanding that notion that I'm trying to build my lifestyle, not just get a job. I used to say to my students all the time, if you just get a job, you're going to be just over broke. Like, what is this lifestyle you want to develop and build? And so, one thing that I can say, growing up Cape Verdean, by Cape Verdean parents, is that you don't necessarily know always how to express what you're feeling or even identify to then get to those points where you're going to have a path of interest or focal point or connection to your purpose. So some of that, sometimes we go through it and then later on we're trying to like unravel it and then kind of start over, right? So
It seems that like that's the MO, regardless of, because we can talk about like the cultural challenges of that. Um, think about I'm sure you went through this a little bit when you were going through your PhD program, having to explain to your parents like what all of that means. But I think it's hard to explain to anyone who's not in the game, right? Like the
yeah,
process. Okay, now you're done with coursework. Now it's time to write your proposal, and now it's time like the thesis and all of those things. So it's hard to so when are you going to be done? And that's like a question you should never ask someone who's getting a PhD.
I was trying to harp on this notion of focusing on you, right? And like,
Got it.
what do you want? What are you dreaming? That starts with starting to be able to hear your own voice and
That's it.
understand,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
so I'm thankful for I would say that I'm thankful for my mentor for planting that seed in my mind early on, you know. Um and I think part of the reason why I write about the things that I write about and I create spaces like Poderoza and other symposiums that I've had is because I wish that in my 20s and even in my teens, I had more spaces, more voices, more
Yeah.
positive voices to speak that into me so that
Mhm.
it wasn't just my mentor because the imposter syndrome would just creep in even
Yeah.
just having my mentor talk to me, but then when I would be in spaces by myself, I would start the negative self-talk. No, I can't do this. This is not going to work. But if I had more
Right.
spaces, if I had more mentors, you don't have to have just one mentor. You can have more
One.
multiple mentors because they serve different purposes.
That's
Um,
right.
if I had more spaces, then I would be firmer in the goals that I was trying to achieve. And I would hear more voices saying, "You're fine, keep going." And so that's why it's important. Like for example, we
Mhm.
just collaborated on the Love and Power series where we just did the love
Right.
part. And that to me was part of like creating the space, right?
Right.
And without going into too much detail, because that space was sacred, but I won't forget about there was a woman in the space that was older, and it seemed that she'd been married for a while, and you could tell she was struggling with not feeling loved and admired or even appreciated by her partner, and she was still grappling with that. So her in that space, her in the space that you created, Dr. Maritsa, is, to me, it shows that it's never too late, right? So
Yeah.
even though we're talking about teens and women in our 20s, and but we're also talking about women in our 40s and our 50s, and it's never too
Yeah.
late to reclaim that power back. And her in that space was testament to that. And that's why it's
Yeah.
important that you create, and I give you your flowers for creating spaces, like for creating programs like Love and Power series, the session that you did at Poderoza, okay, on knowing all the tricks of the trade to going into college and to being a professional and to pursuing all of that, right? And so
Yeah.
all of those are important, and are important. They're the important work that we're doing so that the younger generation doesn't have to like make the same mistakes. And I'm
Exactly.
hoping, I mean, mistakes are
That's
part of life, and it helps you build, and it helps
right.
resilience and all of that. But there are certain things we just don't have to go through.
We don't. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Oh my goodness, we've talked about so many great things. I just want to, I have to tap into your bridging of like academia and grassroots activism, because it's something that I admire about you. I think whatever you sought out to do in creating that space, not whatever, like the way you described it here in how you wanted to create Poderoza, when you're in that space, you take that doctor title cap off. Um, I picked up on that. Like when I went to Poderoza last year for my first year, I never knew who you were. I met you there, and I'm seeing you on stage. I know you're the person who's curating and hosting, but you're in your authentic self, like comfortable in your skin. I was just so drawn to that. Like immediately fell in love with your spirit, right? And then you come on Instagram with your tea time with Dirza, and you're dropping the gems. Like edutainment, like in its essence. So like talk to me about your blueprint of building the bridges between academia and grassroots activism, especially because coming from a higher ed background.
Yeah.
Before teaching, I was an administrator for many years in different institutions. So I know I've even been conditioned to show up like in this academia, but then I have myself. So,
Yeah.
I'm now coming into that unapologetic, like take me as I am, even in academia. But talk to us about that blueprint of how you merge, those
Child,
two worlds.
and again, I love that term edutainment. I need to start using that. Thank you, girl. I'm a go ahead and use that.
Take it because I didn't make it up.
I read recently that your brand is not what you do, but it's who you
Mhm.
are and how you inspire people.
How you
So
make
your
people feel?
brand,
That's
so
right.
my brand is not what I do. It's who I
Yeah.
am and how I show up authentically. I think that when you
Yeah.
try to be anyone but yourself, or it just doesn't work out. And again, I have to give props to Clark Atlanta University for saying that I can be this, for creating a space where I can be authentically myself, because I was at a historically Black college and university. I was
I
going to
think
be
that's the
myself.
difference.
That's the difference right there.
PWI
And I'll say this, because undergrad,
product.
I went to Providence College undergrad, right?
Yeah.
And then thank God for my mentor. He said, I think you'll be perfect at Clark Atlanta. And so I think that permission, the audacity for me to
Mhm.
continue to be exactly who I was welcomed there. And then it continued. at Johnson C. Smith University, another HBCU, where I teach. And that's why I decided to continue to work, at an HBCU. So that's why I'm at JCSU. I think when you show up, um, some people, when we talk about, like, there's the notion of code switching, right? Where you somehow being anything than your authentic self is considered code switching in
Right.
spaces. I think who I am, and um, I think who I am is absolutely fine. And so I don't feel like I have to be in white spaces looking like this and other spaces looking like that. And if you have a problem with the way that I'm showing up, then you as an institution or as a person or whoever, then you don't get to have this greatness then. Because I know I'm
Yeah.
great. You don't have to be around me and I don't have to be there. So for all the jobs that I've not gotten, right, that I've applied for, you weren't ready for this. You weren't ready for this authentic
Oh.
Criolla who was doing all the
Mm-hmm.
things. You weren't ready to be great along with me.
Right.
So I think it was divine intervention. It was just the universe doing me my favor to make sure that I was not in a space where I wasn't going to be celebrated. Right. And so, I walk in and people, I know when I'm being judged because, I got tattoos, I got
Yeah.
plenty, I got plenty of them in and I was just like, but that doesn't define me.
Yeah.
And the idea of respectability that even one of my aunts asked me, they don't say nothing when you show up with all your tattoos and your hats and stuff. And I'm like, I wish they would. We would have this is a human resources conversation. If you want to talk about my tattoos and my hats, that's a human resources conversation. Because you're not ready for this
Yeah.
lawsuit. I know my rights. And it's a
Yeah.
Title IX
You're
issue.
educated and empowered.
I'm an empowered, I'm educated, I know my rights. I know what the Title IX office is that talks about, sexual harassment and like you saying things about. So I have never known anything other than showing up as who I am.
Yeah.
And this tattoo right here says, you are always enough. I am enough the way I am.
Mm.
So this is a reminder that who I am is absolutely always enough. And that's exactly how I'm going to show up in every space, in every instance, and every time.
Yeah.
Whether I'm
That's
at
right.
Poderoza, I showed up at Harvard. I was in a room with it was about over 100 women leaders from all over the world, ambassadors, doing my little study over there. I showed up. I had my T-shirt on that said HBCU. Had my jacket, had my little jacket on, but T-shirt said HBCU. I was going to represent for HBCUs
Yeah.
at Harvard, and I went over there and I talked my junk, and I said what I had to say, and I congregated with the other women, and it was a good time. But I showed up as myself, and
Yeah.
I think that that's very important when we're thinking about who we are. Those of us who um, are doing this work on, if you want to call it a brand. I don't see myself like it's weird, like talking about branding, but I just really think
Mm-hmm.
that people gravitate to people who are just authentically
Speaking to them.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And unapologetically.
Listen, if you don't like it, that's the way that I, behave. I'm not pretentious. I'm just like,
Mhm.
listen, I'm just here. I'm living good for a living. That's what I always say. I live good for a living. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Authentically.
it's a testament to your upbringing and what you shared with us in your journey so far. And you sort of these seeds have been planted from very young. They've been reaffirmed and confirmed through different lived experiences. So I definitely appreciate that, and
And I'm
let's be
grateful.
mindful of that. And yeah, because if you don't have it, you do have the ability to unlearn and reteach yourself, recondition yourself, right? Moving into this, when you talk about liberation and freedom,
Yes.
our brain, we're either in that unconscious,
Yes.
conditioned way of thinking and being, or we've awakened ourselves into being liberal in our thinking, right? Liberated thinking and
Liberated.
mindset.
And if I can
Yeah.
add one thing, I would also say that and this is a lesson that I learned from my grandmother, my bestie, who's 90. Um, just always stay gracious and open to learning. She tells me all the time, she's like, I'm 90, but I'm still learning. She's like, friendships are still teaching me some things. And I'm like, mine. I said, you got girlfriend drama in at 90? She's like, yeah, because people are gonna people. So she's like, I'm still
Yeah.
learning. She's like, people in their 90s too. And I said, oh girl, wow, I thought, you were grown. She's like, yeah, some people are not grown though. So
Some people have the age and not the
girl,
growth.
come on, you better say it. And so um I'm never um too old to, well, compared to her, I'm a baby, so she still calls me her baby, but I'm not old. I'm not closed off from learning just because I have a
From
PhD.
learning.
No.
Right.
Like from
Right. Because since you have a PhD, you know everything.
No, my PhD is in political science and it's in like
What
four fields. So that's the only things that I know. Everything else, I'm still learning. So
Yeah.
it's like just because you have a PhD, it's in these specific areas, but there's so much that I'm open to learning about life. I love being in community with other Black women and learning. I mean, I learned so much from you and Nancy on Thursday about myself and
Mhm.
relationships and all of that. Um, and
Yeah.
I consider I'm someone who I do a lot of self work, but it's never too much. It's never too much to be in community with other like minded women who can teach you a little bit of something about yourself or about others and how to continue in this thing called life. And so I would say, if somebody, is asking, just always stay
Mhm.
open, stay flexible to learning something else from other people. That's the key to keep, like, you just keep growing that way.
Keep going. It's like you knew the question that was coming your way. Oh my goodness.
Really?
I feel like the way you talked about the women in your family and your grandmother, there's got to be another lesson in there, right? Because I wanna move us to talking legacy and what's on the horizons for
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
right? Looking ahead, is there another lesson that you might share with us from an elder, maybe not your grandmother, that you want to pass to the next generation of women? And I love that you identify as Black, Cape Verdean. I
Very
I I
intentional
I
about
was
that.
born here. Yes.
Yeah, I
So
know
I
you're.
say African versus Black because Black has came a term in the U.S. There's a whole lot of history there, but it's okay.
Yeah,
We come from the motherland, but yes.
absolutely. Um, a friend of
But
mine
that was a good lesson. Remaining open.
remaining
Sorry.
open,
Yes.
remaining flexible,
Flexible.
flexible to ideas. Don't think that,
Yeah.
this is who I am. This is how I'm living your life. Because I can tell you this, who Terza was in her 20s is not who she was in her 30s, and it's definitely not who she is in her 40s. And child,
Mhm.
as soon as I hit 48, I'm going to start planning my 50th birthday celebration. I'm excited
Mhm.
about aging. So that would be the other lesson that I
Yes.
have from my grandmother is that do not be afraid of aging. Aging in itself is a
Yeah.
privilege. People don't have
Mhm.
so many of us don't have the privilege of getting old.
Right.
So this idea that, you're calling yourself a vovo because you're staying home, or
Mm.
you're looking down on older people. Please understand that it is a privilege to get older.
Absolutely.
I am grateful to have my grandmother at 90 years old. She still has all her faculties. She still goes swimming at the beach. And so she teaches me to just take in that excitement about aging because,
Aging.
and as you know, Doc, we have all this wisdom because we studied. I mean, excuse me, we have all
Yeah.
this knowledge because we studied. I'm looking
Right.
for continued wisdom.
Wisdom.
I'm looking for continued wisdom in this lifetime. Um, and
Amen.
the more the older I get, the more chill and the more, can I swear? Oh no.
Yeah.
The more I
So
say
just real talk, real
the
life.
because my husband always says, "You have what you have the most potty mouth of all PhDs that I know." The more I age and the more I aspire to be like my grandmother, the less fucks I have to give about what
Oh,
anybody thinks about me. Like, I could give 0 fucks about what people have to say because I'm living this life. This is my life to live authentically. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so I give 0 fucks. I'm like, you can think
And
what you
that
want.
aging gives you that right and that
I mean, and the
well,
way
I don't even
and
know if it's authority, but audacity for sure to say it how you want to as well.
absolutely. I just the way I see, like, just I aspire to be like my grandmother, like the way she just so classy and gracy, it's just graceful, moving about life
And
and just living
free.
her best life. And I'm like, dang, I want to be like that. How do you get there?
That's
She's like, you don't be worried about what the people got to say.
that
Because
part.
when you talking about
That part.
people and you have all that negative energy around you, that joint just festers in you. It kills your
Yeah.
spirit. I don't want that life.
Right. Right.
I want to live
Yeah,
good
that's the
for a
energy you're
living.
putting out.
So for me, I would say, for young, like, just hone in on the privilege of getting older, of aging,
Hmm.
because it certainly is a privilege because not everybody has it. And don't be scared of it. Like, I'm serious. Like, the older I get, I'm like, I'm excited. I can't wait for 50. Bring it on. I'm ready.
I love it. I love it. So give yourself permission early and often, right? To be audacious and authentic.
All of it.
Um, the other one is be open
And
and
yeah,
always
open and
willing
flexible.
to flexible. Yes.
New
Open and
ideas.
flexible and then embrace aging. It's a
Yes.
privilege.
It's a
Yeah.
privilege. Take care of
It's a
yourself, take
privilege.
care of your mind and your body, and let the universe take care of the rest. Because when you take care of yourself as much as you can, then you're able to live the life that you want longer. You're able to be here longer and enjoy the privilege of what it is to be here, not only for yourself, but I'm talking about I want to be here for my husband. I want to be here for my kids. I want to be here for their kids when they come and their kids' if they decide to have them. So I want to be able to
Mhm.
enjoy
Mhm.
the
That
legacy.
part.
You know what I'm saying? I want to
Yes.
enjoy all of that. And the going back to the second point, which is, be open and flexible to new ideas, that doesn't mean you take them all in. That means you go and you sit with them and you figure out which ones you are willing to take in and to embrace, and
Good point
or
too.
the ones that actually serve you. That doesn't mean you just take
Yeah.
everybody's idea. You don't got to ask everybody for their opinion.
Right. That part too.
You know make sure you're going to the right people. Like, with me, big life decisions, I've gone to my grandmother. When, like, my husband, like, hey, I like this guy,
Mhm.
should I get married? Children, those are the two major decisions that I went and had a conversation with my grandmother about. And she
Yeah.
was, advice was spot on. Her advice always came back to me as the decision maker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Her
Beautiful.
advice was more like questions she was getting back to me,
Mm.
asking me, because she knew that I had to be the one to make that decision, but her questions were
Exactly.
reflection. They invited me to reflect on what it is that I was trying to do.
Beautiful.
And
Powerful.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I
I
mean by
love
being
that.
open.
I appreciate that this intergenerational wisdom, where it's so often that, like you said, we don't even like sometimes we don't really put the value and honor, right? Our elders. And so I
Absolutely.
appreciate you sharing the wisdom from your grandmother. So let's do a little curation here, okay? Often when you do podcasts, there may be a section for fireside chats, right? Fireside questions.
Yes.
I want you to actually create a fireside chat with me. So here's the prompt, right? If you could gather three generations of Cabo Verdean women around a fire for a chat, what question would you ask them, and what hope would that spark?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. So if I could get a 3 women,
Three generations.
3 generations, got it.
Yeah. What
Um,
would question would you ask them?
Great question. I would ask them, what makes you happy?
Mm,
Um, um, I'm trying to figure out how to formulate this question. It's about, if you could define yourself in 5 words, what would it be?
mm,
And who taught you how to be the person you are today? And who is that person?
mm,
Meaning,
mhm,
who taught you how, who taught you how to who taught you how to be the person you are today? And who is that person that you are today?
mm.
Does that make sense?
I like these questions. Yeah, yeah. What do you hope would spark from these questions?
Um, Self-reflection and centering of ourselves.
Mhm,
It's the same thing that comes from the vision behind Poderoza. I think that because of our history of both colonialism, of misogyny and patriarchy, Cape Verdean women haven't been given a platform to center ourselves.
mhm,
I think that that's why when we see certain things happening in our community, and or when we behave in a particular way, is our need for attention and our need to be
mm,
centered.
mm.
And my whole vision in life has been to create spaces and platforms that centers us so that we don't have to ask for or need attention from nobody because we've had that attention.
Yes.
So when I talk to my daughter, like I've been affirming my kids, both my children, I have a boy and a girl. I've been affirming my children from the
Mhm,
womb. Since they were in my belly, you are beautiful already,
mhm,
and I haven't even met you. Look at you, you're
mhm.
so active in there. I just love how of a little gymnast you are. So I've been affirming my
Mhm.
children since they were in the womb. Every single
Yeah.
day, I talk to my daughter. I look, Max, you're so beautiful. You know that. You're so smart. When she tells me something happens in school or she did or well, I'm glad how you handled that with your friend. That shows a lot of wisdom. So it's not about just how she looks and presents herself, but how she
Right.
handles friendships and she handles a situation with a teacher. And I also help her affirm her boundaries,
Mhm.
and respect and
Oh,
self-respect. And so I can tell from but both my children, they don't need nobody's attention. They don't need anybody's word
yeah.
to affirm them and
Oh,
as
validate.
validation. They don't need any of that because they've been getting it from the womb, from myself and from their dad. So
Yeah.
all of these questions that I'm asking, the 3 questions that I put out there was to center the Criolla to make sure that she's talking about herself, that she's reflecting on herself. Because when we have that, we don't need that external validation. When we have spaces that we're talking about ourselves and learning about ourselves, we have less need for external
Mm.
validation. And I think that if we had that from the beginning, we wouldn't have a lot of the things that are happening in our community. Um,
Mm,
Unhealthy relationships with our partners.
yes.
Um,
That's
uh,
right where my brain went, to be honest.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we've all dealt with them. Stayed in relationships longer than we were meant to. The way that we raise our
Mm-hmm.
children would be different.
Different.
You see what I'm
The
saying?
way
The
we
way
carry
that
ourselves
the way we carry ourselves, the way we relate to each other, the way we talk to each
to each
other.
other. Okay, we're gonna just need to pull this fireside chat together because
Girl, this is
that was
this is I
beautiful.
live and I breathe centering us in
Yes.
this
I
world.
think
Like
but
this is
your point is very like profound and so deeply true. Um, I think that that's a whole that those might be some workshops for Poderoza coming out to unpack
oh,
together.
you already know. I was like, as soon as you said fireside chat and these questions, I said, shit, she gonna be doing that at Poderosa. I hope she know that.
Did you know? Good thing this is recorded.
Cause I'm like, we have this. I got receipts. I got receipts.
Yes,
As
we
soon
got
as you said that, it was like, bam, she's doing that at Poderosa. She don't even know it.
it's all good. We got the questions. We ready. I love it. I love
I
it.
love it. Like you always, let me tell you, sis, you bad. You a badass. I'm tell
No,
you,
you
you're the one.
you
You're the one. Yeah,
I'm
I got
coming after you.
goosebumps right here.
I'm
I got goosebumps.
No, literally,
Yeah.
I've been talking to you and having goosebumps. I can't wait for folks to see this. We're on a like Shannon Sharp status right now because we are
You're
in a
doing
long
it.
form conversation, but it's been great. And I'm gonna close us with
Yeah.
my last question. I promise. Because there's so much. Even in just talking to you, I'm thinking about so much more
Yeah.
conversations we can have. But listen, let's talk about your legacy because we've heard a lot about what you're doing now, the impactful work and the upbringing, the strength. I love the positive story of your life. Not we all have our challenges, right? Not everything is beautiful, but that you
Yeah.
lean into telling your story in that way is beautiful. So as you continue your advocacy, right? What legacy do you hope to leave, and what excites you most about the future? What excites you most
I'll start
about
with
the
that first.
future?
What excites me most about the future is the state of Cape Verdean of criollas worldwide. I
Mm,
think that social media gets a bad rap, but I honestly believe social media works the way we want it to work. So what I'm witnessing is, something that I've talked about in a recent conversation is the culture of silence and is shifting in our community. I'm seeing a lot of women
mhm,
just saying, basta, that's enough. I'm speaking my truth. I'm holding those who hurt me accountable, and I'm saying all the
um,
things, no more secrets. And so I am absolutely
mhm,
loving that. I'm an optimist at heart. And so I'm loving the audacity of this new generation of Cape Verdean of criollas who are just doing it. And so I'm really excited about that. And my legacy, to be honest, it's tied to that. I want my legacy to be um more criollas trividas in the world, to who are speaking their truth and centering themselves in their own stories. Like I write my narrative. I'm the author of my story. And that's what I want that legacy to look like. I want Poderosa to, I don't want to hold on to Poderosa forever. Because I think we need to make space for new generation of leaders. Um, I think that it's important. I think sometimes as Cape Verdeans in general, we hold on to leadership positions for too long. So I'm looking for the
mm,
next step, for the next leadership of Poderosa. Not that I'm saying I'm so old and whatever. No, I'm saying that
right.
there in a few years, there's some criollas that, well, right now, there are criollas who have these amazing ideas that they need to lead this next step of Poderosa. I'm just gonna be over here in the cut. If you need me to consult or if you need an opinion, I'm here. But I want you to take this thing over because you got it. You got the energy, you got the new ideas, the freshest. You know what your generation wants. So I want that's the legacy of
Mhm,
like knowing when to step away as a leader and let the next generation, allow, not let, allow the next generations to transition and take over. I think we can work
And
on
so,
that.
yeah, and the beauty is that you're not just allowing, but you're shepherding, right? That passing that torch is not just a handoff,
No, no, it's
right?
like,
So
or
that's
when it's like
beautiful.
it's forced. As a matter of fact, the
Yeah,
people that are on the Poderoza team right now, I mean, I want, I asked them to be part of the team because I'm like, I'm watching you because you're the one, you're next.
yeah,
You got next. It's so I think
yeah,
being okay enough with myself, like I don't have ego
yeah,
and I'm not pretentious to say I have to hold on to Poderosa forever. No, it's saying I see the next generation. I'm loving what they're doing and they got next. I'm good. I'll be over here.
yeah.
I'll be over here if they need me. But like you said, just sort of supporting, but knowing when to let go.
Hmm.
Knowing when to let go. And finally, knowing when to go sit down and get some rest.
Okay. And how to rest along the way.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Oh,
much for sharing your remarkable journey and insights
thank you.
today.
Thank you
I
for
mean, your
this.
story,
This is kind of
yes,
therapeutic. Like what you're doing over here is very therapeutic, and I appreciate you for that. Like there's a few things that I hadn't thought about, and not that I haven't thought about them, but they're not easy to talk about. And
to
so, like
talk
the
about.
journey, yeah. And so,
And this, it's because I've always been that young girl who's seeking more of that mentorship. And I think because my parents migrated to the US, I was born here. They raised us like we were in Cape Verde, but they were in survival mode themselves. So a
absolutely,
lot of the soft skills and life lessons I didn't get because they were just in full living mode, survival
absolutely,
mode. And I wanted to create a space where young people can actually hear regular folks with, I'll say ordinary folks with their extraordinary stories, because I think we all have a story there. And like you said, we don't all have to like make the mistakes when there are other people
no.
whom we can learn from. So I'm hoping folks have gotten some good lessons from your story today,
I hope
for
so, and
sure.
I'm always available. Please put my, my email, my Instagram, all the things because
All your contacts, yes.
I don't live in New England per se, but I'm just an email, a message away. I always make sure that I'm available to especially to the Cape Verdean community for questions for anything that is needed. And the mentoring is a huge part of what we need to do. We can't close ourselves off and gatekeep this knowledge. We have to pass it on, and we have to use, like you said, our soft skills, the the skills that we're learning to support ourselves and each other. I think that's very, very
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And your story has been a powerful reminder that redefining success and embracing our true selves can lead to lasting transformations, not just for us individually, but for our communities as a whole. And so, like, you live out the selfie era. The selfie era is my spin on the soft era because it's
Yes,
about
I love
pouring
that.
into yourself
I love
so
that. I
you can
learned
pour
that.
into
Yes.
others.
Yes.
Yes. So, for everyone listening, I hope you feel inspired to unlearn, to challenge the status quo, and to trust your own path. We definitely learned that from Dr. Lima-Neves today. Don't forget to subscribe, y'all, to Schooling Life and share this conversation with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep owning your story. I'm Dr. Maritsa Barros, and class is dismissed.